US President Donald J. Trump, who threatened military action against Nigeria under the false pretext of a so-called genocide against Christians. This statement is not only ignorant, it is dangerous. It distorts Nigeria's complex security realities and fuels sectarian divisions that millions of peace-loving citizens are struggling to overcome. We are compelled to respond to the reckless, arrogant, and deeply provocative remarks by US President Donald J. Trump, who threatened military action against Nigeria under the false pretext of a so-called genocide against Christians. This statement is not only ignorant, it is dangerous. It distorts Nigeria's complex security realities and fuels sectarian divisions that millions of peace-loving citizens are struggling to overcome. The context of Trump's threats. Trump's outburst followed a manipulated petition engineered by Amnesty International using the voice of his Nigerian country director Isa Sanusi, cynically deployed to give credibility to a toxic Western narrative. This petition, dressed up as human rights advocacy, is part of a broader campaign to vilify Nigeria and justify foreign interference under humanitarian pretense. Let us be clear, there is no genocide against Christians in Nigeria. There is a national security crisis affecting all Nigerians, Muslims, Christians, and others alike. The flawed Christian genocide narrative. The CNG rejects the false and divisive narrative that violence in Nigeria is religiously one-sided. The data tells a very different story. According to verified figures from the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project (ACLED), between January 2020 and September 2025, over 20,400 civilians have been killed in violent attacks across Nigeria. Of the reported incidents where religion could be verified, 317 Christian deaths and 417 Muslim deaths were recorded. The figures debunked the Western media's exaggerated portrayal of Christians as exclusive victims. The majority of victims in northern Nigeria, from Zamfara to Borno, Katsina to Sokoto, are Muslims attacked in mosques, markets, roadside, and IDP camps. Recent data underscores this reality even further. According to the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project (ACLED), an estimated 9,662 people were killed in violent incidents across Nigeria in 2024 alone, with a staggering 86% of those days occurring in the northern region, 41% in the northwest, 25.9% in the northeast, and 19.3% in the north central. These figures expose the gross imbalance in Western media narratives that focus almost exclusively on Christian victims while ignoring the scale of devastation endured by predominantly Muslim northern communities. As security analyst Bulama Bukarati warned in October 2025, changing service chiefs without reforms won't solve Nigerians' insecurity challenge. The crisis has evolved beyond personal swaps. His statement reflects a growing consensus that Nigeria's tragedy is one of leadership failure and institutional weakness, not a religious war. He earlier observed that Boko Haram and ISWAP kill Muslims and Christians alike, but their largest victims are Muslims by far. This hypocrisy must end. Nigerians' pain must not be filtered through a Western religious lens. The brutal reality on the ground. To underscore the tragic reality deliberately ignored by foreign propagandists, on January 11, 2025, bandits killed 21 people in Aure, Katsina State. On 19 August 2025, gunmen stormed a mosque in Malampashi during dawn prayers and slaughtered over 50 worshippers. In Zamfara State, between March and October 2025, dozens were killed in repeated attacks across Anka, Maru, and Tsape local government areas. Yet, none of these atrocities made international headlines because the victims were Muslims, not Christians. These are not isolated incidents. They represent the daily horror faced by ordinary Muslims in rural communities whose days rarely make international headlines. No discussion of selective outrage is complete without recalling the Zaria massacre of December 12 to 14, 2015, when over 340 members of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, IMN, mostly Shiite Muslims, including women and children, were killed. Even after Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch documented the atrocity with satellite imagery, and mass grave evidence, no U.S. administration, including Trump's, ever condemned the killings because the victims were Muslims. This silence further exposes the double standard of Western government and their selective morality in Nigerian affairs. The IPOB factor, a false victimhood. While foreign actors romanticize the indigenous people of Biafra as victims, they conveniently ignore IPOB's atrocities, the murder of northern traders, burning of vehicles, and violent enforcement of sit-at-home orders that have crippled livelihoods in the southeast. Over 600 northerners have been killed in IPOB-related attacks since 2021, according to independent security monitors. Yet, Trump and his enablers choose silence because it does not fit their prepackaged narrative. Foreign manipulation and hidden motives. The claim of a Christian genocide is not a misunderstanding, it is a strategic deception. It serves geopolitical interests aimed at destabilizing Nigeria and justifying future interventions. For decades, the United States and its allies have used human rights as camouflage for resource control and political dominance from Iraq to Libya. They create a moral crisis, weaponize global outrage, and then move in under the guise of liberation. Nigeria will not be the next experiment. Trump's sudden concern for persecuted Christians is a smokescreen. His record shows indifference to African lives. What truly offends him is Nigeria's growing diplomatic independence, our increasing ties with China, Russia, and the global south, and our resistance to neo-colonial pressure. Our key observations: predominantly Muslim victims. In states like Zamfara, Sokoto, Katsina, Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa, Muslim forms the overwhelming majority of victims. The blood being spilled daily in the nose is not the blood of Christian genocide, it is the blood of poor, neglected, defenseless Muslims. Communal and economic roots. Most violent conflicts in northern Nigeria stem from land disputes, poverty, and resource competition, not religion. Turning every tragedy into a Christian persecution narrative insults the truth and hinders real solutions. Government negligence. Successive Nigerian governments have failed to tackle insecurity decisively. Weak leadership, corruption, and lack of empathy have turned vast regions into killing fields. The Nigerian people deserve more than excuses, they deserve action. Geopolitical hypocrisy. Trump's tweets expose not compassion, but imperial arrogance, the same arrogance that destroyed nations under the gaze of freedom. Nigerian sovereignty is not up for negotiation. Our calls to action to the federal government: take decisive, coordinated action to end insecurity in the north. Enough of the complacency. Nigeria must defend its citizens, its sovereignty, and its dignity. To Amnesty International and its local agents: stop weaponizing human rights for political gain. The manipulation of Nigerian tragedy to fit Western agendas must end. To Donald Trump: keep your threats to yourself. Nigeria is a sovereign nation, not a client state. We welcome dialogue based on facts and mutual respect, not bombast and blackmail. To the international community: rather than foiling false narrative of religious conflict, channel your attention toward fostering good governance and holding accountable those truly destabilizing Nigeria: the corrupt politicians, compromised judges, reckless governors, ministers, parastatal heads, and civil servants who continually undermine our democracy. To the Nigerian people: unity is our greatest defense. Muslims and Christians alike must reject foreign manipulation. Our fight is not against each other, it is against insecurity, poverty, and bad governance. In conclusion, if Nigeria fails to assert control over its narrative and territory, we risk sliding into chaos that will engulf not only our nation, but the entire Sahel region. The international community must choose to support Nigerian stability or to inflame its fragility. The coalition of northern groups will continue to stand for truth, justice, and national sovereignty. We will not remain silent while our foreign powers insult our dignity, distort our reality, and play politics with our blood. May Almighty God console the families of all victims, Muslims and Christians alike, and grant our leaders the wisdom to steer this nation away from destruction and toward justice and peace. Thank you. That on a daily basis we are being killed, both Muslims and Christians. That's the truth of the matter. But we don't want a situation whereby somebody will just enters into the country and try to create another religious crisis. That's what we are avoiding. But the killings are there. The facts and figures are there. On daily basis, you people are reporting the killings. So whether somebody to go to Market Square, whatever it is, the killings are there. That is the reality, and that reality we cannot dodge from it. But whatever it is, I think this is our problem, personal problems, and I see no reason why whatsoever that somebody should go to Market Square and report the killings in Nigeria. We should address the government at the initial stage. So whoever go to the Market Square and complain about the killings at the initial stage, we condemn it in totality. That's not how it's supposed to be done. The government, we have all the prostate, we have all the establishments that we believe from the bottom of our heart that they can deal with the situation in as much as they get the political will from the leaders of this country. What we are seeing as a problem, particularly of the solution to this, all this insecurity, is lack of political will, lack of sincerity, and lack of integrity of our leaders. Bad governance is behind all the insecurities that Nigerians are suffering today. Bad governance is behind whatever is happening to this country. Even bad governance is behind the Trump statements. Because I think we have the real leaders who cares about the country, who sympathize with the people in the country, who have conscience, who have humanity in their minds. I don't think that they will allow the situation to escalate to an extent that somebody will even go to the Market Square and report the situation. So we condemn it in totality. And about the sponsors of whatever it is, we have been calling the government, times without numbers, that the government must deal with everybody, either directly or indirectly, found that he has hands in this situation. We have been calling that even those people that are aiding them, not even talk of sponsoring, that are aiding them, even people that are giving them the opportunities, even to where to sleep, where to have medical access, access to medicine, access to whatever it is, they should be dealt with decisively. So we still repeat our call that the government should fish out all those people that are behind the killings in this country, deal with them squarely, and let them show the evidence to other Nigerians that whoever is doing this or whoever undermines the sovereignty or the security of this country will never go free.